let's help you out. What can we do for you today, Mr. Kanna main?
Yes.
You feeling good with the Kanna?
Yeah, I used to have it as a farming Kanna.
Mm-hmm.
I used to main Night Lord, but decided to make the switch to a Kanna because I've been really enjoying it lately.
Mm-hmm.
I just came back as well. I took like I want to say like a year break because I started playing World of Warcraft, but then I got bored of that and then just came back to good old Maple.
Good old Maple.
Yeah, I've been playing since off and on since I want to say like 06, 2006, 2007, but I never like gotten this like far into it. As I said, I didn't want to focus that much on the Kanna, but then I started like playing her much more, and I like the playstyle now. Like I want to main her.
Yeah, that's never happened to anyone before for Kanna.
Right, it's
I think a lot of Kanna mains start as side characters.
no one plays this class, right?
Yeah, it's super novel. Yeah. No, but I mean, yeah, it has a little bit of everything, right? And well, it has a lot of bit of everything, so it makes perfect sense that it would tick a lot of the boxes of what you're trying to achieve. I think that makes perfect sense. So
yeah,
what? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like I really like the class because I mean it can do pretty much everything really. Like it does damage, support. Like if you want to farm extra like totem per se. I mean I know that's gonna be removed on the next patch on summer update, right? But
yeah,
I really don't mind it that much if it gets removed because just because of what the class provides. I still think it's gonna be like a really good class after it gets nerfed. So for me, it really doesn't like matter that much.
It will change how you're gonna how you might play, right? So I don't know what your training sessions look like and how much time you have and how much time you spend and everything. But depending on how you fund your account and how much you can play on a high efficiency and stuff, that will change with that, right? Have you given that any thought?
Yeah, I mean, I usually play like around, let's say, in between 2 to 4, 5 hours a day, depending.
Okay.
I usually never have problem with the totems, so I never like use them all. And if I do decide to like use them all, I usually use them on like all my mules. Well, so what I'm trying to do right now is pretty much get like 8k Legion on. And once I do that, like I can pretty much like stop like focus on my mules and just working on like my main. I mean, pretty much are working on the Kanna as well, right? I do my, you know how it goes, daily story. I try to level up here and there. I've been trying to get her to at least like 235, just so that I can be able to like do all the dailies. I think at 235 is
yeah, for the simple dailies. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll just go from there, level her up. But pretty much like right now I don't know what exactly to do since I just came back and stuff. I'm kind of like blank on some you can say like mechanics on the like the game, like what to go for. I cleared I barely cleared CRA for the first time last week solo, and that felt nice. But yeah, I've been trying to see like where to go from there.
And you're doing, are you doing specific party content? Are you like in a guild or in a party with trying to do the harder bosses? Where are you at with that?
Well, right now I'm just solo, and I've been trying. Well, I think I'm like, my goal is to get like to Lomian up to now. But I really haven't tried like to look for parties and stuff.
Okay.
I also don't like asking for carries. I think it's, well, Twitch is on, right? But I like to kind of like do it myself. Except, well, I try to get like Helix whenever I can, but it's just like draw the luck if I see like guild members offering it or someone from the alliance. I usually like kind of like hop in and try to join. But besides that, I haven't joined like Lomian parties and that sort of stuff.
Okay. And Do you, so you know what you're working on currently like short term? Do you have like super long term goals, or are you just trying to take it one step at a time?
Well, long-term goals, it would be. I mean, I want to say black mage, but that's gonna take a while. So just take it like one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, like with the eyes on, just going all the way, I guess. Because with the amount of hours you put in the day, that's doable, right? I mean, it's gonna take a while, but it's doable. And something that you,
for sure.
At least at this point, you feel yourself going quite long enough to reach that.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That makes sense. So we know a little bit about all of that. And when it comes down to the resources that I have and the stream stuff, I don't know how familiar are you with the sessions and with the resources that I have, my commands.
I mean, I guess I've seen a lot of the sessions. Like every time that I like play, I like to have like videos or like movies on, and I usually like watch your like streams and like hear them on the background. I really haven't like gotten into the. Let's say I know how let's say like flames work, kind of like cubes as well, but I haven't done them that much because I know it's usually, from what I heard from your streams, it's kind of like better to wait until like 5, 10, 15s or like those kind of events to happen. So yeah, I'm just kind of like saving right now. I have 20 bill and saving up for the next 5, 10, 15 that I kind of see. See if I can like make the best out of that event.
You know when that is? Do you have it? You have it marked on your calendar?
I don't remember if it's next Sunday or the Sunday after. I think
next Sunday is a 1+1 Star Force event, so it's not. Yeah, it's like okay to get like new characters to 12, maybe for some things to 15 if you want to prep them for 5, 10, 15. But if they're already at 15, then you kind of just don't worry about too much. And March 6th, I see, is the 5, 10, 15. So that's 3 more weeks.
Yeah, 3 more. Okay. Yeah, so I'm probably just gonna like farm and save them till then.
Well, unless you have a bunch of stuff that's not 15 yet, right? Then you could use next weekend to prep it to 15.
True. Yeah.
We'll save a little bit more money than doing it during the 5, 10, 15, and you can also get a better look on how much money do you still have at that point, and is it really realistic to get everything to 17, or do you just first try to just tap everything to 16 to get those guaranteed gains, and then slowly try to work on some 17s one at a time, depending on how lucky you get getting everything to 15. Because the main thing is that up to 15 you don't really gain much at all, but there's you basically paying the admission fee to get to the 17 plus area, right? And that's or the 15 plus area, and that's where all the big gains start coming in.
Okay.
So we want to see if that's something that's realistic, and then you're working on backups and stuff for pieces, because that will also determine what you Star Force and how you do it with safeguarding and all of that, right? The more backups you have, the safer you can be, or the lower the risk is, I guess, which is kind of a different way of saying it. And it'll also allow you to save money on safeguarding, especially up to 15, right? Because the boom chance is so low. So if you have some backups, that'll generate a lot of money for you in the sense that you don't have to worry too much about spending all of that money safeguarding.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I came back on I think it was like a 15 event like a couple weeks back, and I was upgrading my Fafnir fan, and then it boomed, and I was like, fuck this, like I'm quitting. But then like I came back like a couple of days after. I was like, okay, like I was kind of salty, but then one of my friends like talked me out of it. He was like, it's part of the game, just like at this point you should be able to do CRA, get backups, you should be fine. And that's what I'm starting doing, like I'm just getting backups. I do have some pieces that they're not like, let's say like fully upgraded. Like I have the boots, they're not upgraded. They don't have like they don't have Star Force at all, or my cape. But I haven't upgraded them because I think I have some coins that I can use to get
Yeah, you're working towards Abzo gear now, right?
Yeah. I can get some stuff from like Abso, but man, I said like this Kanna, like the equipment that I have, it's pretty much like basically all focused around Meso and like
drop, to get the
drop.
money income. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that.
I haven't really focused on like because I think it's like per piece of equipment you're supposed to focus on like int per line, so well except your WSC. But I haven't really like focused on that. I mean, I have a couple of backup. I have extra pendants and like rings and stuff that I probably can use. I also have I got the black bead mark, but I haven't upgraded that at all. I just got it like a couple days ago as well.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a farmer that's like set up to kill just fine in Lachaline, but as soon as you start doing your dailies in the higher level areas and you want to be moving to Arcana and into Morass, it's probably going to be a bit trickier at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't been having problems up to Arcana, and I think at Morass I want to say like I 3-shot like the mobs pretty much. It's not that big of a problem, but yeah, I mean I know that eventually it's gonna be more difficult as you go by through the zones.
Yeah. So well, two of the major things that are important when we want to look at and we want to have a plan for if you're trying to progress through the game is your critical rate and your IED, right? Those are very important. The critical rate is mainly very important just for all your damage to everything, and then the IED is basically like the critical rate when it comes to boss damage. So those are things that we want to look out throughout the entire session, make sure that you have those in place. And if any major sources of those were to disappear, we want to make sure we have a backup as to what else is going to fill that gap so that you don't suddenly fall below a certain number. Because that's going to have a very negative, like a very detrimental impact on the efficiency of all your other upgrades, right? You can imagine if you spend 10 bill, but then you let like 20% efficiency slip somewhere, it's basically like you now need to pay 12 or 13 bill to make that same 10 bill upgrade because you missed something else. So it's going to make everything else less efficient, and therefore everything else is going to be going to have to get over invested in. So we want to make sure that everything moves kind of in tandem with each other so that it empowers each other rather than holding other pieces of your progression back, right? So the main thing that I have is the progression grid. Have you looked at that already? Have you seen some numbers, some things there?
Yeah, I've looked at it, but I haven't like gotten into it that much, to be honest.
So this basically what everything that I do comes down to in the sessions basically comes down to looking at is this reasonable for you? Is this within how you play the game? Is that something that you can realistically achieve? If you can't, how can we compensate for it? If your class has a weakness, how can we empower that class specifically for that? Depending on what you want to achieve, right? And if there's any question you have about any system here, we can clear those up right now. So I don't know if you already have a list of questions. Typically, I like to just go one system at a time and just kind of make sure we explore that I understand that you get everything. And then as we go through all the systems, eventually we get to the equips and to the specific goals, and all of that will hopefully start making more and more sense, and you'll probably start seeing or start telling me like, I think I want to do this first, I want to do this first. As long as I can convey to you properly, this is where all the damage comes from, and this is what the general priorities are. That should give you already a very good outlook and be completely more open to receiving all of the information about where should the money go first and where should my time go first. Does that sound good?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just laying it out. It's not like like you have to be like, yes, I understand everything. Let's go. So we can go like one system at a time. So one thing is, I guess the top one here, right? I like to go by level because there's also level damage reduction. So if you were to go just to 235, and you were to like, I want to join Will Party, you're 100% just a support. Even if you had everything legendary in 3-line, you're getting like 87.5% damage reduction just because of your level difference to the boss. So you're only dealing 1/8 of your damage.
Oh, okay.
Right? So even if you were like a god right now, you wouldn't do shit for damage. That's why I think the level is a very big, important indicator to see this is how strong you are, this is what kind of content you can do around your level. And then, you know, provided that you hit all of these other metrics, and that all of these other metrics, and these are basically balanced around how much access do you have, how expensive will it be on average, and what is a realistic number to aim for. Some classes will be a bit higher because they just innately in their kit have way more, and other classes will just be a little bit on the lower end and they will need a bit more help and the focus will need to be on certain things. If you're primarily a support, some things you can be on the lower end, and it's going to be a bit more important to know the boss mechanics, to know where to stand, to know timing, to do good communication in parties. If you're doing the harder boss fights, right? When it comes to soloing, you'll just have to fall in line with all the same requirements as everybody else, mainly because of the possible final damage reductions, right? So those are the biggest metrics that we're looking for. So level is possibly a source of final damage reduction. So that's one that's really high up there. Other one is kind of critical rate because that taps into critical damage, and critical damage is a very strong source of, that's not critical damage, that's functional damage, but critical damage is a very big source of giving you increased damage. So if that's not applying, you're also losing a lot of damage. Damage in itself as one clump is also a big source of damage, so that's one we look at. And then IED is also possibly a function of final damage reduction, so that's something that we want to make sure that we are close to, you know, an optimal range. Otherwise, we lose a lot of efficiency on the other stuff. Legion is more functionality of general progress through the game that will allow you to get access to all of these other stats. So it's not necessarily like, oh, anyone with 4K Legion is like totally okay. It's more like, are you getting the right stats and the right characters that will allow you to get these numbers in these other categories easily, right? And it roughly also means that, oh, if you're at this level and you're like sitting at a 500 Legion, if you put some of your time into working on Legion instead of on your main, you'll get more gains on your main than by training your main directly. And since that's a little bit counterintuitive, especially for newer players, I like to highlight that because maybe a lot of other games don't have that same mechanic, right?
Yeah.
Star Force, again, is just like a general goal. If there's just been a Star Force event, you might be a little bit on the higher end. If you're saving up for an upcoming Star Force event, you'll probably be a little bit on the lower end. You know, it works like that. Also, there's a big number gap here because usually you have like event rings in the beginning. And so there's no Star Force on those whatsoever. And then once you get into Star Force on those, you go up a whole lot. Flames, we can go into that on how that's all calculated and how important those are. Then your boost nodes, of course, those give you final damage on the attacking skills, right? And for some characters, especially for Kanna on the domain and on the Yuki, those are very important skills that allow you to do a whole lot more damage. And if you don't have the ID and you don't have the primary function of being a damage dealer, having a high level domain, for example, will still give you more damage that you're adding to the party than you could by investing in your damage, basically. Because if you give everyone 10 to 15% more damage because of the bursts, and you basically take that damage from them, you add it onto your number, like this is how much damage I deal, you'll probably be dealing the most damage or contributing the most damage to the entire party, even if you yourself don't hit the boss at all. Which is kind of weird, but you know, the bigger the party is, the better that works. So if you have 6 people in the party, you're empowering the other 5 people by 15%, 5 times, that means you're basically doing 75% of one person's damage, which would probably be more than if you're just piling everything into damage in the beginning. And that's why there's a huge benefit to just going for mezzo, going for drop rate, right? Trying to get backups, and just focusing on the nodes and focusing on the boss mechanics and on the communication, on the positioning, on that stuff, and on the survivability. And as long as you've got that under control, some people will call that like a carry, right? Because they'll be like, oh, I'm not directly doing any of the damage. But that's like saying that I don't know if you know soccer, but like that's like saying the goalkeeper gets carried by the people who score the goals. It's like you can look at it that way, but it's kind of a simplistic way of looking at it. Because if there was no goalkeeper, then you know the team would lose all the time because it would be an open goal, right? So it's all about working together and everyone doing their part. So as long as you do that part and you do that part well, you're contributing like well beyond your means, even if you yourself are just incapable of hitting the boss. So that's also an important thing to be aware of. And then Arcane Power, again, that gives you final damage or final damage reduction, right, based on the requirement of the map. And then Sacred Power much later also comes into play. So we can go through it one at a time, a little bit more in depth. If you feel like there's a system that you just completely already understand, we can move on. If there's something that you just want to have some clarification or some, you have just a few questions about it, let me know. So this is basically connected to the dailies and weeklies, right? So this is a list of like what are the dailies and the weeklies in the game, whether I think they're relevant when it comes to the bossing, and what kind of stuff you could get from it. Oh, the piggy bank was removed actually. Boom. Money. There you go. I should put mezzos. Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff that you can get, and then the soul shards I think are pretty important, right, for later if you want to get a good soul on your weapon, and because it's a triple RNG system, right? RNG on the soul drop, RNG on the making it into a soul that you want, and then RNG onto getting the actual stats that you want. Just sooner you start gathering the soul shards and then using them during the Magnificent Soul event to try to get Magnificence, and then hoard them until you have an actual weapon that's worth using them on. It's like a very long-term project, and to start that in the beginning feels a little weird, but in the end, when everything is so expensive to upgrade, being able to go just add 3% magic attack onto your weapon will be an insane upgrade and very cheap at that point. And it's one of those systems where as long as you start early, it's a little bit of effort along the way, but you'll never feel like you're hardcore grinding for it specifically, you know?
Yeah, I have a couple of the souls, but I really haven't used them at all.
Oh yeah, soul in the bag, yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't like really looked on how to use them. I just been like farming them per se. That's like the one thing of the game that I don't understand, and I would like wanna like get into it, as well as familiars. I don't have any familiars at all.
Sure.
I've heard people say that it's like convenient to farm the familiars, but I also heard other people say just like ignore them until like late game, and once you get into like higher level zones, once you train there, they'll drop cards. And I noticed that ever since I got into Moras, I've been getting like cards from like I don't know, like Blue Shadows or the
Shadow Dance Halls,
stuff like that.
Yeah, all the monsters in that area should drop one except for the AFK mobs, yeah.
So like that's another aspect I kind of like want to get into it as well, because I have no knowledge on the souls and the familiars. Pretty much like everything else, like critical rate. I always have that at 100% like percent.
Yeah, so you had 100. That's good. That's good. We have some sources of critical rate that are still available, but I think. Oh, no, you're not getting, because it's the fake Absolab, right? It's not the fake Arcane. The fake Arcane had crit on it. Oh no, this one has crit as well, yeah. So there's 10% crit coming from your weapon now. That's not going to be there forever, right? So that is something that we have to keep in the back of our heads. But you do have the access to the hyper stats for critical rate still. So that is also something that can pretty easily fill in that gap. Plus, technically, we can move stuff around the Legion a little bit, especially for mobbing, just to get your critical rate. That wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is I have the Phantom, I have the Beast Tamer, and I have the Archers, like
the Night Lord.
Phantom and the Night Lord.
Yeah, all of that base crit is there. Yeah, that's a really solid foundation, not just for your Kanna, but for any character you're playing, right? And you probably noticed that when you were leveling the Legion, like having all that crit, new characters are...
Big difference. Whenever I started playing Reboot, the first class I played was with the Night Lord, and man, that was hell. Like, I was getting shotted left and right, and I decided the Night Lord goes first, and then I started playing Mercedes and Evan and Aaron, and like all those characters are first. It feels like hell training them, but as you go by and start training more characters, it becomes like easier and easier. So
yeah, I call it the snowball. Usually, you start feeling like you're just rolling a snowball down the hill, right?
Yeah,
it gets bigger and bigger, and the monsters just get crushed.
And for now, I like whenever I get bored of like playing my main, I usually like hop into like a Mule and start like training them. Right now I'm like debating as well, because I have a Demon Slayer, but he's not 210 yet. I think he's 200, and the Luminous, that's also 200. I know that Demon Slayer gives like 20% more boss damage at 210, and Luminous gives like I think more ignore defense.
Yeah, well, it's 5 more at the... Well, Lumi is 210, right? So that one gives 20%, and then the Demon Slayer now should give 15, and then goes from 15 to 20, if you get the extra 10 levels,
I'm kind of debating like on using the potions to level up like one of them, but I don't know which one to get to 210 first.
But the Lumi is 210, says here. More IED, please.
Oh, never mind then.
You forget.
Yeah, I forgot.
I think you potioned it because it's in full pencilier gear, so it must have probably would be pretty rough without the potions.
You know what it was? I think it was I leveled up a lot of them last event. You know how we had that the train mini game that was
yeah.
glitch?
Yeah, that was good for 200, 210, yeah. Maybe the Arc, maybe you meant the Arc. Arc also has a very good level 3 link.
Yeah, Arc, yeah, I think
That's
it was
also
the Arc
5%,
then.
yeah. I mean, when it comes to the efficiency, the Arc is a damage skill and the Demon Slayer is a boss damage, so the Arc one will work everywhere. So if you can choose the same amount of damage or boss damage, I would always choose the damage. Just, you know, it's not a huge difference, right? Because usually for mobbing, it's not going to make that much of a difference. You're usually optimizing for bossing, so it comes down to roughly the same thing. But theoretically, you would always go for damage over boss damage if it's the same percentage, because one works on everything and the other one only works on bosses. So I would probably prioritize the Arc. But Arc and Demon Slayer also have options of becoming bossing mules if that's something that you're ever interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I want to have the Night. I have a Night Lord and the hero. I want to make those. I mean, probably later on. Because I kind of like already invested. They have some symbols on them.
That'll help a lot. Yeah, early symbols is a lot of
Yeah.
free stat.
I mean, I got Lara up to 220, but that was because like she was really easy
Free.
to. Yeah, she was like really easy to get to 220 with all the EXP coupons and
Yep,
the gear and stuff.
free
So,
stuff. Yeah, it's
I
still the
also used
boxes,
some-
right? The symbol boxes and the experience coupon boxes and the notes.
Yeah. One thing that like I forgot, and now I wanted to ask you about. Do you think for let's say for mage classes and like archers, should I just switch them like all the mages to like ice lightning and the archers to like pathfinder to make them easier to get all of them to 200, and then like change them once to 200? Because I have a marksman that's like 170, but I don't know if I should like just grind him all the way up to 200 or switch it to like pathfinder, and then like once it hits 200 switch him back again to marksman.
Yeah, I've heard from people that marksman isn't nearly as bad as it used to be. I did all the characters by itself just because I wanted the experience, but if you're looking at it purely from the efficiency, I'm pretty sure that the pathfinder will be quite a bit easier and more straightforward to train. So if you're just looking at the levels from an efficiency standpoint, that's probably going to be fine to switch them, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I went through it because I just wanted to experience all the characters as they were, you know. But that's more like kind of for stream content, kind of just because I wanted to know. But yeah, from an efficiency standpoint, that's up to you. I think that'll probably speed it up, yeah. Especially if you like Pathfinder and Ice Lightning, and they're, you know, pretty hard to dislike because they're pretty strong.
Yeah. And well, like right now, one of the things that I'm kind of like debating on whether I should do or not is like switch. Well, not switch, but like if I should just keep the gear that I have or start like rolling or re-rolling, because I know that on my my inner ability I have the Mesa obtained.
You're talking about the Kanna now? Okay, yeah. So I want to get to the equips. I want to do everything, but like I said, I prefer to go through the systems first, make sure we get that all on the same page, right? And then we'll go to the equips at the end, and then it'll all come together once we make sure that the mutual understanding of all the other systems is there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So you're talking about the souls and the familiars, right? So for souls, I have the exclamation mark souls links to the wiki page where you basically see the tiers of all the souls in the game. Essentially, you know, if something is S tier or lower, you can put it on like so S tier, I would say you can put on like up to Absolab, just to have something on the character. Anything S or lower, you can like put on a secondary character's weapon just to have something on there. And then you save the double S tiers for when you get, you know that you're going to have Absolab for a while and you want to get a decent soul on it, or you save it for Arcane basically. So these are the bosses that dropped that, so that also overlaps like here with the which bosses here have the double S. So if you want to mass produce, if you want to make sure that you get as many of these as possible, it's about doing the weekly bosses mostly, right? You see all of the big weekly bosses here. And then the dailies that you can do to farm is normal Vellum, normal Queen, and normal Magnus. So usually when it comes to daily bosses to do, I would very quickly go away from doing like normal Papulatus and Madman Remaru and Von Leon, like those bosses. Even though their crystal is pretty good, I think you get to the point where it's more like you're going out of your way to do them just for the crystal, and you could spend that time doing dailies or building up Legion or training more. Like, I think that's all more valuable. The only bosses that I would consider doing on daily is normal Arc, is Gollux, you know, the hardest difficulty that you can do, and then normal Magnus, normal Queen, normal Vellum. That's basically like the only group that I would do because of the long-term value that they have in the soul shards and in the possibility for the drops.
Okay.
So for the souls. So basically what you do, you just save up your soul shards, you wait until there's a... so if you double click, right, 10 souls, you makes it into a soul, and then you have a small chance of getting Magnificent. That's a 1% chance off event. And then during an event, it's 5% chance. So it's, 500% the odds. So you basically just always hold them until a Magnificent Soul event, of which I think there is another on the way as well, right? Here, yeah, March 13th, so the week after the 5, 10, 15. There's another one of those. So then you just click all the souls and see if you get any Magnificent. If you get any Magnificents that are not double S tier, so you can use them temporarily or use them on another character. Or you can hold them if you get like a Magnificent Zakum or Hilla or something. It's like whatever. It's not really, doesn't really do all that much. You can, if you check here, you can check on the souls and you can see what they do. Sometimes the Magnificent versus the non-Magnificent also has a different skill that it unlocks. Sometimes it's a summon, sometimes it's an attack. In general, the attacks are just bad, the buffs are just bad. Like, the only exception is the Ephenia Soul on the Demon Avenger is good as a buff. All the other buffs are also bad. And then you have summons, and basically the summons, they're not all exactly the same, but all the summons just follow you around and do extra damage when you summon them. It's usually such a small portion of damage that you don't really worry about it at all. The only one that people worry about is the normal Lucid summon, because that's a stationary summon, so you can put it down somewhere while you're training, and then it'll help you kill part of the map. And then especially as a Kanna as well, in the later areas, you can go to bigger maps, plop a bunch of summons everywhere, right? And then just stand in one corner where there's no summon, and then you just hold Exorcist Charm, and then you're basically just destroying the whole map, so you can make sure that you have full map coverage the whole time. And then while you're looting, you can use the big Yaksha, or you can use Domain, or you use the Sengoku Force, like some extra stuff that flows all around the map, kills everything while you're moving around and focusing on looting. That's like something there for later. But that's basically souls. So you just wait for Magnificence, double click them, hold on to the wait for Magnificent Soul event, hold on to the Magnificence, and then once you have a weapon that you're gonna have for a long time, you can try to roll for buffs. So the buffs from the Magnificent are random, and you can see here on a double S, right, like Magnus, but it'll be the same, like the exact same possibilities for something like Magnificent Queen or Magnificent Will. Like, it'll all have the same possibility if they're in the same tier. It's just that if you summon them, it'll be a different boss that gets summoned, and it might have a slightly different hitbox or something. But like I said, in general, you don't really use those. You just use the soul on your weapon for possibly these stats. So this is like the third layer of RNG, right? Layer 1 is, does the soul drop from the boss? Layer 2 is during the event, and then layer 3 is when you use the soul on an item, and then you get one of these things. So it's, is it 7 options? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. So like IED wouldn't be too bad, right? On Kanna, 12% crit rate wouldn't be too bad on Kanna. 7% boss damage also wouldn't be too bad. 3% magic attack wouldn't be too bad. 5% all stats still does something. HP, I guess you scale off of that, but that's not really what you want. All skill levels +2 is pretty useless. Weapon attack is totally useless. So you have a decent amount of outs that will give you something. Ideally, people chase the magic attack. 7 IED by itself is not huge, but it can be something that people keep temporarily, but typically people will try to go for the magic attack. If 12% crit rate allows you to move a bunch of pieces in the Legion board, or it gives you an extra slot in the Link skills, right? Then that could be decent value that's maybe comparable But usually at that point, that means that link skill number 13 is going to go into slot number 12, right? So link skill number 13 is usually already not like an insane link skill. So it might give you more than any of these other lines, but it's probably still going to be less than magic attack at that point, especially because Kannas have an insane amount of magic attack, right? Because of their passive scaling on HP and MP and everything.
Yeah.
So that's basically souls. Does that all make sense? Or did I leave anything?
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm. And then the second thing you asked for is familiars. So I have exclamation mark familiars as well. It basically just goes into all of the numbers on like what is even going on, what do familiars do, what are the costs for everything, ranking up, like what are the rates, how much does it cost, right? And this is when you're basically going to be in an area where you get a lot of the same cards, and then you can fuse them together and try to go for a higher rank. That's basically what you heard people talk about, like don't worry about familiars until you get to the point where they basically are actively dropping when you're training, and that's what you're finding now in Morass. So some people, and I guess this connects to the compensation. Did you pick up the sherbet pet already? Is that something that you already did, or are you still thinking about that?
The what again? What was that?
The sherbet pet for compensation?
I don't think I have.
Okay, well, that's my Valentine's present to you. Is Christmas came early. So if are you in game right now?
Yeah.
All right, go to the dimensional mirror in the quick move, and then select and find the event hall. You're there?
I'm on my way.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the bottom. They moved all of the stuff around.
Alright, yeah, I'm here.
And you talk to the Maple admin. And then you click the bottom option, talk to Maple admin, and then it says a gift for all heroes. See that?
Yeah.
You select that, and you'll have to like select reboot, basically, that you want to receive it on reboot.
Oh, nice. All of these are free?
You can get all of these. You can get it on whatever character you want. And you can claim them all the way until the end of this event, so until the end of March 15th. It's also on the event calendar. Yeah, I put it on there extra so that people don't lose track of it. So it's under the, where is it? Your compensation, gifts, pickup, vac pet, etc. And then it's even got like a little picture of the event hall and how to get there and everything.
Nice.
So yeah, so we have the vac pet for 30 days. This is mainly a powerful tool if you're moving into Morass and you can kill there properly, because the Shadow Dance Halls are among the best maps for their level for quite a bit, because they have so many platforms and they have among the most spawn locations and most amount of monsters that can be in the map at the same time of any map, which is amazing. But of course the big downside is looting properly there, right? Because it's all over the place. But the sherbet pet can really help with the looting, because you're just teleporting around and it's just like sucking everything in with no delay on all of the platforms. So you basically just stay in the middle platforms, teleport around, and everything from above you and below you just all just gets sucked in. So that will be a huge help on if you want to move into the Shadow Dance Halls, and if you want to make money and droplets and node zones and everything, and also get familiar cards and start getting those going. And then all the level up potions that you want to use whenever you want to use them, right? There's some extra money in there, some extra cubes, symbol selector coupons. Yeah, a lot of free stuff for you, so enjoy that and have a good.
Nice.
Do you see anything there where you're like wondering where and how to use it? Or I guess for the cubes it'll fall into place once we get into the upgrading part, right?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the symbol selectors. I'll probably use them for. I think I hate doing the Arcana. The what's it called? The quest
Spirit
there,
Savior?
the daily. Yeah, I hate doing that on the Kanna. I don't like it, so I'll probably just use the symbols on that. Pretty much, I think it's because it's a teleport. Because I used to do them on my Night Lord, and it was way easier. Like double jump and stuff. But on the Kanna, I don't know. It's I guess it's pretty much I haven't gotten the hang of it. I need to practice it more and more. I'll probably get the pets. I already have 3 pets, but I have I have the dragon, the one from Hilla, but that one usually doesn't do buffs on you. Only picks up the stuff.
Yeah. That's the basic of basic pets. Yeah, Sherbet's got some more stuff going. Yeah, for the symbol selections, you could also wait until you get to a Sphera and then use them on a Sphera, right? Because then that one will be behind the most. And it's got among the lowest per day as well, so it'll take a lot of time to level up. So, you know, pound for pound, every symbol there will be a bit more valuable, right? Because it gets you closer to more arcane power and closer to more stat. Yeah, I mean, I guess to go into for I did a video on Kanna. I'm not a Kanna pro, but I did Spirit Savior here with my Kanna. We can look at it for a little bit. It's a 3-minute video. So the first thing I do here is I maximize the map, right? See on the top left, there's yeah, so that you can see everything.
Yeah, I always do that. Yeah.
So you want to use the teleport there. So you use the teleport down to use the jumpers for the speed, and then you use teleport to break the momentum. You see that?
Yeah.
There, we pressed the wrong button. Lol. So that you can move in the direction that you want, and then handing in the end can be a little bit tricky. It can get a little bit close, but if you have enough speed, enough distance from the spirit, it'll definitely help you create enough space. And then the Vanquisher, no, what is it called? Shikigami Charm, right? As you use it there to get even more speed out of the jump. Teleporting in the corner is a little bit yikes. Okay, I fucked that one up. As you can see, I'm not that pro at all of this. The main thing is also that the roots can help you, can get you stuck a lot, right? And you want to avoid having to stand on them and down jump a lot. So you just want to teleport through them, basically. Teleport, attack, teleport through them. Whenever you can do that, you save a lot of time. Yeah, so don't do what that
I'll
is.
probably try it, see how I do. I mean, I've seen that whenever you do it on mules, you usually like get up to like only 10,000 points. Like what like why is that? Why do you only do like 10,000 and not like more?
So the you're familiar with the speed up mechanic, right? If you get the extra area, you get the extra symbol, then you can skip one daily.
Oh yeah.
So you need 30,000 points. And when you quote-unquote skip a daily in this area, you basically just get the score from whatever was your highest score that you get. So if you can skip one, so you've unlocked Morass, but not a Sphera yet. Usually I try to go for 15k, because then I can just go into the second one, just fail, and then double up on the 15k, and then double 15k is 30k, so then I'm done. So that's basically why this is a 15k run that I did, so that I don't have to... so that's like, I think that's the most that you ever need to be able to do. If you can do 15k, then you're always going to be done, just with one run, right? And then once you unlock the last area as well, you unlock a Sphera, then you can skip 2. So then I usually just get a 10k, and then you can autocomplete the second one, get another 10k, autocomplete the third one, get another 10k, and you're done. And then you have 30k, okay. And then because the max is 10 symbols, and one symbol is 3 coins. So as long and you know, you get 1 coin for every 1,000 points, for every finished 1,000 points, right? So if you have 12,500 and you hand it in, you just get 12. And if the next one is also 12,500, you still get 12, so you end up with 24. So you need to make sure the next one is 13 at that point. So that's why some people will end up just doing 10k, and then some people will do all the way to 15. And then if you go over 15, you're just trying to limit test and just try to get better at it, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, the reason why I emphasize it is because it can end up, and especially once you unlock a Sphera, it can end up being a daily that's like a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and that literally just gives you 10 symbols every single day. Efficiency wise, it's one of the best dailies to do, but it does take a little bit to get used to. 2 tips I would give you is try to not rely on rope lift, because it'll slow you down. And actually make it easier for the toxic spirit to catch you. So try to use more teleport, like straight up teleport and sideways teleport to get to where you want, because it'll just break your momentum and immediately get you to where you want. And the second thing I will say is, if you're having trouble with it, take off the one skill node, the big blue spirit circle thing. Because sometimes use it on the bottom and you might trigger it, and it might float to the top and trigger another spirit higher up in the map. And then that'll speed up the spirit, but you won't be able to catch it, and then it'll, it'll fuck up your run, basically. Yeah. If that happens. And sometimes it can happen as well with the, With
Yeah, happened to me with
Yosuzume, maybe.
that blue like skills circle
Mm-hmm.
kind of like messed up my chaos. The one with the clowns.
Mm-hmm.
Like it popped up like I don't know where I started healing the other one. It was kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of tricky.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah. So, but in Spirit Savior, you also, liberate Spirit Circle. Yeah, thanks, Sam. You want to make sure
Yeah.
that for Spirit Savior that you take that off, because it can definitely have a big negative impact. So that and and easy on the rope lift. I would not use. I would try to do it completely like in the video without it. I can send you the video, by the way, if you want to look at it later, just for a little bit of inspiration. Because the main thing is just the main thing is just to see like how do you get from point A to B without like as quickly as possible, right? And if B isn't there, how do you get from A to C, and how do you get from A to D? And as long as you kind of have in your head like, oh, I'm going to this one first, then I'm going to that one, then I'm going to that one, it'll just become automatic, and you're not even thinking about it anymore. Because what'll happen is you'll try a few things and be like, oh shit, I got caught, because maybe you're going in you're taking a bad angle, and then the spirit can come diagonally and it can actually cut you off, and you're like, oh, I can't go from this one to this one, like I got punished here. So the safer thing is just to go to the side and jump all the way over with a jumper, right? And that creates a lot of space between you and the spirit, and then you have a little bit more time to kill, pick up, and then hand in. Handing in is probably going to be the hardest because you're a teleport class. It's very easy to hand in with a flash jump character. So since you're a teleport class, what you can do very well is you can get horizontal flat distance very well. So in the worst case scenario, you just down jump all the way to the bottom floor if he's coming at you diagonally, and you just hold teleport and hold your arrow key towards the middle, and you just zoom, zoom, zoom. It'll never be able to catch you, even on the highest speed. It's just not possible.
Okay.
So that's going to be your ace up your sleeve if you need to hand it in. If you're like somewhere in the middle right, middle left, and he's coming for you, down jump and just teleport to the middle, and then that should always, just run. Even if you're only at 4, it's better to hand in 4 than to try to go for a 5th and fail. Because if you try to go for a 5th and you get caught, you lose immediately 50% of your shield, and you might run out of shield before the timer is even out, because the little blue balls hitting you always hit your shield, right? And then if you run out of shield and you run out of time, it's going to be very unlikely that you still hit the 10k, and then that run is kind of just forfeit.
All right.
How do we get here? From familiars. Yes. So because we're talking about the compensation. Yeah. So familiars. The main thing. So if you're at lower. Basically, I have the advice for familiars here on the bottom, right? So in the beginning, any common and rare that you get when you're doing Legion, you just throw them all to your main character. The only thing you're aiming for is probably drop rate and IED percentage. You can get that from common and from rare, and especially for Kanna, the IED is going to be really nice, especially if you want to solo bosses, because your IED is very low as a Kanna, right?
Yeah.
So 15% IEDs, those are going to be your lifesavers. If you get anything with drop and healing, you can hold on to it, but that's like the only things that you're looking for. Everything else you can just extract, and that'll give you points in the shop. You can buy booster packs if you get a lot of them. If not, just hold on to the points. You can use it for familiar essence so that you can extend the duration of your familiars. Do you know about the familiar, the summon gauge?
No, I haven't used the familiar system at all.
So if you open up the familiar, you see like the yellow bar in the bottom left, right? That's the summon gauge. So that'll basically just go down if you have any familiar summoned, and then you get the buff right on the top right that says, and it'll say 2000. That's the 2000 from the gauge. It won't go down one by one, but it'll trickle down like, I don't know, 14 points every X amount of time. I don't know, but if you like resummon, it'll update, right? So now it goes to 1998 for me, so I just lost 2 points. The more defense the familiars have that you have summoned, the slower it'll go down. So this one has 3 defense, this one has 2 defense, this one has 1 defense. The higher the rarity are and the higher the level they are, they might get more defense, and then you can keep them longer. If it ever runs out, but you still want to play and you still want to have your familiars, you're going to have to go to the shop and buy the familiar essence here with the 300 points. And these are the points that you get from the extraction that I just mentioned. So if you go to collection and then extraction, and then there's a bunch of them that you don't want, they'll show up here. You can extract them. It'll tell you got this many points depending on the familiars that you extracted, and then those points will be added up here, and then those will allow you to buy these things. Those bottom 3 things are basically, you don't have to worry about those at all. You basically only worry about the top 2. So if you have a lot of points, you can do booster packs, has a small chance for epics, which is what we eventually want to look for, and also has a good chance of giving some rarer cards from bosses, for example, that it can help you complete sets. and completing sets is going to be useful later if you want to unlock more familiar badges, more familiar slots, right? Because you start with 1, and then if you complete 1 badge, you will unlock the second one, and if you unlock 10 badges, you can unlock the third one. So usually people have just 1 or 2 in the beginning. If you need the ID for bosses, right, 2 15% IEDs will be very nice. And then by the time you get to like Moonbridge, like 245 or something, or 250, by that time you want to start just making a lot of epics, right? Because you're going to be training a lot, getting a lot of cards, and you want to fuse them up together to unlock a lot of epic potentials, because there's really good epic potential lines you would want. For example, there's increased item drop rate by a large amount that counts for 100% drop rate, right? So that's really, really good. There's also 20 and 30% IED and boss damage lines for familiars, and there's some other cool stuff. So by the time you get to that point, you want to be able to have 1 familiar out to increase your drop rate, so you get more cards, right? And then have 1 or 2, preferably slots, where you level up the familiars, and they level up by having them summoned and by killing monsters near your level, right? So while you're training, while you're farming, they'll level up. And then when they're max level, you can, well, basically, during a training session, you'll just switch them out for new level 1s, level those up, right? And then at the end of the session, you can take all the same cards and fuse them up together. And then when they are, so during fusion, you'll select the card. And then if you have others of the same kind, you will select them, click fusion, and then this bar will fill up. And if it's all filled up and they're leveled up to level 5, you'll be able to choose the rank up. And then it'll either fail or pass, depending on the percentages. If it fails, it goes down to 50%, and you have to fill it up again with fusion. If it succeeds, it'll go to the higher rank, and then you can reveal it, just like the potential on any familiar, by going to info, and it'll have a big question mark here. You click the question mark, you pay the fine, you know, 35k or whatever, and then it reveals the potential, and then you get disappointed, and then you do the next one, because basically there's a whole paste bin here where you could check if you want, with all of the possible outcomes on all of the tiers. There's a lot of junk in here. Increases speed and jump, you're going to see that stuff a lot. So it's basically mass production at that point. That's why people are saying don't worry about it too much. You know, there's a few things to look for on the current familiars that you can have now. If it's nothing good, just extract, move on. If you have what you want, you can also choose to, maybe if there's a bossing mule, you can start opening them there. Maybe get some IED familiars there, right? Because getting some IED, preferably like 2, right? Because the second slot opens up at 1 badge. 1 badge is very easy to get, comparative to 10. 10 is really hard. So getting 2 just for the 2 slots, and getting 2 familiars with 15% IED is a lot of value early on, right? It just adds so much damage, or it reduces the final damage reduction, right, from the PDR from the bosses. So that could be something valuable to do as well. But other than that, rest of the advice is here. So here's a list of all of the possible outcomes. Here's a list of drop rate and how that all stacks, right?
Okay.
Because for familiars, item drop rate and meso drop rate is split. And you need like a certain percentage to always get it back to drop. There's also meso obtain, meso drop rate, item drop rate. There's different stacking mechanisms. There's different maximum amounts for different sources, right? So it's like a big mess. So it's all like explained here, so that you know, do certain lines stack with each other? How much am I aiming for, right? And you know, we'll talk about that a little bit. Like for meso obtain, for example, right? Like you can get up to 100% from your equips, but there are other sources, right? For item drop rate, you can get up to 200% from your equips, but there's also other sources. When it comes to familiars, item drop rate does not mean the same as item drop rate on an equip. It means all items except for mesos. And then meso drop rate is only for mesos. So if you have a familiar with increases item drop rate and you have no other drop rate, but you have meso obtain, you're still not going to get 100% chance of a bag from every monster you kill. So then you lose money, even though you're maxed out on the obtain. You lose money because you're not maxed out on a drop rate for the bags, right?
Oh, okay.
So you want to make sure that you're also at that, what is it, 67%? 67% total item drop rate increase. So for everything except for familiars, item drop rate, or when it comes to familiars, meso drop rate, to get that extra 67%. And then once you have that, you can and you're also high up on the Meso Obtain, that's when you're actually maxing out how much money you can make within maxing out how many monsters you can kill, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the pieces in the equation. And then if you want to upscale your badge, I also made this, where, thank you, where it also says like which badges are easy to get, which ones are harder to get, and which ones, you know, might just take a while. But there's a bunch of badges that are like impossible, for example, like the boss just doesn't drop them. So this is kind of to help you avoid waste your time when you're trying to get a certain badge, because it's like, oh, this one's easy, it only has 4 monsters on it. Yeah, but maybe 2 of them don't even drop in the game, right? So you would be wasting all your time. So this is just kind of like specific advice when it comes to familiars. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
So early on, it's going to be an important source of IED. So when you look up IED, it's also going to be here. So we have an explanation video, calculator, and then the source video. And it's going to have like all of the sources of IED here. There's going to be a useful tool in the beginning if you're looking at the progression grid and you're like, oh, my IED is nowhere near this. Also, first you need to know what a functional IED is, right? You need to compare it. So the video explains all about that. Like what's the difference between the visual, how much your stat window shows, and what is functional, how much it's actually applying on hit when you hit something. And then based on that, you will know how many functional sources you have. And you can throw that into the calculator, where basically you just throw all of the numbers in there. And then it'll show you what your functional number is. Usually I try to start with all of the visual sources that I have, and then see if I can reproduce here the number that it actually shows in the stat window. That way I know that I haven't missed anything, right? So that see that you get exactly the same number here as you do here. And then you add all of the visual sources, which for Kanna, spoiler alert, is basically nothing. It's just the link skill. So you have the Explore Mage link skill if you have it. And then your boost nodes, level 40 effect. That's it for Kanna. So you're done. And then that number that comes out, that's the one you compare to the one in the progression grid here for the functional. And that's what you aim for, specifically if you're solo bossing. To be efficient and to have your damage go through to the bosses.
Yeah.
Does that all make sense? Was something there too fast? You have any questions?
No, it makes sense, but I think you said that it's better if you get like multiple sources of ID, like because they stack differently, no? Like it's better to get like, let's say that you have 30% ID from one source, and you want to like it can increase up to like 40. But like if it increases from 30 to 40, the value that you get, it's reduced, no?
Yes, diminishing returns. Yeah. So if you have 0 and you add 30, it gives you 30, because it always gives you the percentage of the source of the percentage of how much you still need to get to 100. So when you're at 0, you still need 100, so it gives you 30% of 100, so 30%. Now we're at 30. So now all we're missing is 70%. So the next one gives you 30% of 70%, which is 3 times 7.
Okay, I get it. I get it.
Which is 21, right?
Yeah.
So if we add it now, boom, we go from 30 to 51.
51, okay.
So how much is the next one? Test, pop quiz.
So it's 30% of 51?
No, how much we're missing. This is how much we already have. So 100 minus this.
That's 49.
So 30% of 49. It's a difficult number.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just take 50 and then go a little bit lower than that, right? 30% of 50 is easy. Is 15, right? So it's a little bit less than 15. So it's going to go to 65.8 or something. Yeah, 65.7, right? So that's how you see. And then, so sometimes you'll be like, oh, I want to get to 93. Or yeah, like, oh, endgame people get to 97. I'm already at 94. I'm basically there. But that means at least two full 30% sources, and then a third one you add is barely going to get you to 98. Like, the diminishing returns hit pretty hard, but because the boss's PDR goes over 100%, the increased efficiency of the IED, even if it seems like there's only 1% being added, there's a big difference in final damage to the boss, right? Because the final bosses have like 300% PDR, which means that you deal 3% more, 3 percentage point more final damage for every 1% IED that goes up, right? From 80 to, or from like 90 to 93, final damage on a 300% PDR boss means your damage reduction is going from 30% all the way down to 21%. So instead of doing 70% of your damage, you're doing 79% of your damage, which is a damage increase of, what is it, 11 point something percent final damage, right? So for just 3% final damage. So that's massive. So yeah, don't underestimate that one if you're bossing. That's why also in the beginning, Kanna is really cool, because even though you have very shit IED, all of your power comes from your supportive capabilities. So if you do that properly, and also you have really good survivability, so if you learn those things well, you can get to the point where you can do those higher runs, where you can get to those stronger areas and kill those monsters and make those rates. And then you can circle back later to fill in all the numbers, you know, for yourself, for solo, and then you can just blow everything up. Because you've gotten through the hard part, which is getting the nodes, which you seem to have like 16,000 of in your matrix, I noticed.
Yeah, I have a lot. It's
the
been,
pages are like
really
off the
easy.
screen. The dots are like here.
Yeah, I need to like work on those. I haven't like really got into them.
Yeah,
I also
well,
have more. I think I have like 300 like extra on my inventory that I haven't like opened up. But because I haven't like
that'll be
really
a very powerful tool to fund other characters with though as well. So if you can get, you know, we'll get through the matrix, and then if everything makes sense for the character itself, you can start using those as a very, very powerful tool to fund all the other characters in your account as well, because it's final damage, right, on your base attacks. So it's just gonna increase their damage by a whole lot, and especially power them up to be a bossing mule. Just 100 on a completely clean character versus 100 on your Kanna right now is a huge difference in efficiency of how much damage it will increase for them, right?
Yeah.
Because you can go from 0 boost node to like level 10, which means, or in a level 5 slot, which will basically be 30% final damage increase to your main attacks. Like, how much money would you have to spend for that? But the nodes are basically just a gold mine that you're sitting on.
Yeah, it's kind of I find it like really funny because whenever I was like playing with my Night Lord, I used to have like struggles getting node stones, and now with the Kanna, I was doing my dailies and I got like 8 just from doing like all the dailies, and it's crazy like how I think the first from the Banishing Journey, I think they give you like 3 per week or something like that. It's I was like that's crazy.
The pittance, yeah. Barely makes it dead.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is drop rate there as well, right? Once the drop rate gets rolling, it's that snowball effect again. You kill a lot of monsters, you kill them quickly, you go to maps with a lot of monsters, you get more drop rate, they just start rolling in. And then because they're rolling in and you get stronger, you can kill even stronger monsters. And then you get to the point where you get a little bit loss of efficiency on your nodes on your main character, because it's like, I need to use like 8 node stones to get 1 level. And then maybe it doesn't even increase my kill speed. Now you can use it on another character, and that character can just snowball way faster and can start killing CRA at level 210, even though your Kanna had to be like level 230 before you can do that. And you can just speed up the process for the other characters.
Yeah.
And that's the value of the Kanna, right? And that's why Kanna farmers are just so popular, because they can do that so well, better than any other character out there.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Yep. So we kind of went over the Legion and the Legion, right? Did you have more specific Legion questions?
No, I think for the Legion it's pretty much like good as well for like the link skills.
Well, you have this set up when you're mobbing, right? When you're bossing, do you have the bonus experience in IED instead?
Yeah, when I'm bossing, like what you see on the screen, like I have all of it on ignore defense, critical damage, and some of it in boss damage. But I prioritize critical damage, ignore defense.
And then enough in critical rate to hit 100, right?
Yeah, for the critical rate, I don't think I hit 100, but I hit like 96 or 95.
Okay.
Like around there.
And the other question is, together with that now, is because you have the presets for your hyperstats, is this your bossing hyperstat preset?
Yeah, that's the one I use for bossing.
Yeah, and then for mobbing, the ID and the boss damage is in
it's
EXP and normal monster damage, or?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And with this event, it's even like nicer because you get like with the Muto thing, you get like more.
Yep.
I mean, I think I have it on I think I maxed out the boss damage, and I'm working on boss damage and damage to normal monsters, and then I want to max
The EXP? Are you going for that one?
Yeah, the EXP, I have that one at 6% right now. And then probably like IED as well.
Yep. Oh yeah, you're a little bit over 10 because of the weird stuff in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yep. But it'll eventually max out at 30, so I mean it should. Hopefully that works properly.
Yeah.
I got some extra levels now because they fucked up. Okay. Yeah. What were you gonna say? Anything else for Legion? Did you have anything else that came to mind?
No, I mean for Legion and Link skills, I think I'm pretty much good.
Yeah, for Link skills, I mean, yeah, you just take the. It's the same priority, right? The same priority to fill your Legion board, the same priority to make the Legion characters, the same priority to fill your hyperstats, and the same priority to add to your Link skills, right? You just start from the most important one, and then you just work your way down. Yeah, and for mobbing and bossing, you might have different setups depending on critical rate and depending on. But for you, the critical rate stuff is pretty much the same, but you just switch out all of the specific, like the Nature's Friend and the Elven Blessing and that kind of stuff, and just switch those out.
That setup that I have right now, that's the one that I use for usually farming. That's I don't think that's the one for bossing, but yeah.
No, I hope so, yeah. Because if you're bossing with the Rune Persistence and the Elven Blessing, it's not going to do that much for you. Yeah. There could be a few things to move around here and there, but I don't like for mobbing. As long as you kill, like it's not gonna make a huge difference. As long as for bossing, you make sure you have all of the IED in and the boss damage, right? Those are super important, especially for you as a Kanna. Because I'm imagining that even with the 40% IED chunk, your IED is probably still a little bit on the low end for the Kanna. So one of those options, usually early on, we'll get to that in a little bit, is usually to get a line of IED on your emblem once you get it to legendary. And that'll help you carry over needing enough IED. Typically, I think endgame Kanna still hold at least one line on the emblem, but that'll make it so that you can bridge the gap towards until you get the Superior Golix set, right? With the extra 30% IED in the 4 set, and that'll definitely put you into this situation where now you can move away from like the IED familiars and go more into damage and healing there. So for now, it would be to try to get a line of IED on the emblem and to try to get IED familiars to get your fix, basically. And then once the Superior Golix comes in, that's when the familiars can start moving over. And hopefully by that point, you know, you've gotten some epics, hopefully a boss damage familiar, or maybe some healing ones when you're doing will or something, right? That'll be more important than you dealing all the damage. Will be you keeping everyone, and including yourself, alive better during that boss fight. So that's kind of like where the IED is going to be moving in the future, to keep that in mind. And the crit rate, you know, we already talked about it. It's probably going to be a little bit bigger Legion, and then hyperstats to correct for once your weapon gets switched for a real one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I guess the main other thing that we need to talk about is the Matrix, right? We need to... This is like your gold mine that you're sitting on a pile of gold rock, and you're like, I don't know what to do with this thing.
Yeah.
You're like,
I
there's a pickaxe, but you're like, you don't want to damage it.
Yeah, I don't want to like move anything because I was like, you know what, like I don't want to like screw something up, and then like I'd rather just wait until I get it like explained and
yes,
get it right.
Okay, so you want to main this character, which means we're going for the main setup for Kannas, which means if you go for 3 sets of boost nodes, which means we get 6 total boost nodes with skills in it for you. So you already have 5. We're going to see if we can work around those 5 and then just add 1 and then be done, right? That's what we want. Maximum efficiency and maximum value out of the work you've already done. So these are all skills that you want. Do you know if you have some overlap, if you have some 3s, or is everything 2 at this point? Looks... Oh, you have 3 Kishins, I think? You have a screen of that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you can see the ones that are higher level Kishin, and probably Shikigami, because that one's 45.
I also saw like one like new skill. I think they added it because I hadn't seen it before, where like the Kanna summons like a big demon and like you can see like in the background. I haven't like I don't think I have that one.
Oh, you have it here. Yeah, it's level 5 next to your other form, in between your ethereal form and your overdrive. That guy.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like the giant
Yeah,
mask
yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'll be about moving into things. So I think from a utility perspective, do you need the sharp eyes right now to hit 100%?
Yeah.
Okay. So from damage,
But I mean, I can probably remove it because I for the link skills, I usually like right now I don't have the monster collection one, the archer one.
yeah.
It gives you like monster collection, and
Mhm.
I can also put some points into well that's whenever I'm training.
Well, I think this is
I don't
okay.
have-
I think this is okay. The main things though that are now in here that have no business being in here yet is your decent advanced blessing and decent hyper body. They definitely do something for you, but they're probably going to be on the very lowest row of the matrix once you get there. They're probably like there's probably like 7 or other things I've probably put in there before. When it comes to the boost nodes, ideally you make 2 sets of trios, right, that will have all of your mobbing skills, and then 1 set of trio will have specifically your bossing skills. So you only switch into those when you're bossing, and then when you're mobbing, you can make sure that you get all of the other nodes in there that will help you with your mobbing to optimize your slots, right?
Yeah.
So it's usually... So that's Vanquisher, Charm, and Doppelganger, because those are going to become more and more important for your burst, right? Together with the Princess Sakuno Blessing, right? The extra final damage there.
Yeah.
And the overdrive, like that's gonna actually make you very bursty as well once you get to that point. But until you get to that point, main point is the other skills. So we want to see if we could squeeze those other skills all together. You don't have one that starts with Doppelganger or with Vanquisher Charm, but you do have 5. So if we want to, and you have so many nodes, so I feel like we can optimize within that, and it would be like a percentage of what you have, not a big loss at all. Yeah. This is going to be like a huge puzzle, and we can't really do this like on stream and go through like 6 million nodes that you have.
Yeah, I think I would like to like go through each like one of them because I have a lot. I have to like read them and see which ones.
Yeah, well, you already have some level 16s, right? So I would like the 2 16s and the 14 and the 13. I would use those as base, and then see what you're missing from that. So I would see if we can take the Vanquisher Charm out of both of those bottom ones, and make sure that the 2. So, okay, what you want to find now is you want to find 2 boost nodes. One that starts with Vanquisher Charm that has Doppelganger in it. And then ideally, I think the Ninetail Fox. So you can write that down that you want to look for, right? So Vanquisher Charm start and then has Doppelganger and Ninetail. And then one that starts with Doppelganger and that has Vanquisher Charm and the Ninetail. Ninetail is the lowest importance there, but like that would be the min-maxy thing. So those 2 are the ones you want to look for. And then I'll probably... and within the 5 that you have, make sure that you have all the skills in there twice. The main one that you want to replace here... but on 4 nodes, right? So you need... if you were to go by the 4 highest level ones... you would take away the 2 Vanquisher Charm lines, and then you would have to replace them with, I believe, 1 Tengu and 1 Yosuzume. And that should give you 2 of everything. So if you can find the bottom left one, right, that has like Tengu instead of Vanquisher Charm, or Yosuzume, and then the bottom right one that has the other one, then you're immediately done. And then you just use these level 13 and 14, respectively, to level in the level 1s that have the lines that you want. That transfers all of the value. And then you can just get rid of the level 10, extract that one, and then you can just power level the 4 that you leave here, and those other 2 ones that you found, and then extract anything else that starts with anything else, basically. The way to do that safely is to go into the node crafter dude and right-click the nodes that you want to save and lock them. And once all of the good ones are locked, all of your skill nodes that you want to level up, right? For disassemble, you can just click select all and just disassemble all of them. And that'll save you like millions of clicks because you've got so many of them. And then we want to, and then when it comes to equipping, we definitely want to get rid of the blessing and the hyper body for now. Not get rid of them, but like not have them equipped. And then typically what you would equip right now, I believe, is the is the full map Yaksha dude, so that you can use either domain or that to have like full map clear while you're looting, right? And Chat, what's the other one for mobbing that you would do? Would you do the Ona so that you can charge your domain more easily, or would you throw Sengoku Strike in there? Also, there's so many skill nodes that I don't know if I'm missing like a oh no, these are the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. For looting, just for mobbing in general, because these are lower priority, right? I think a lot of these are higher priority. Another thing is you have 21 matrix points left over, so you can still level up some matrix slots. So I probably put domain in a leveled up slot, and then probably your other boost nodes as well. Maybe holy symbol as well. Because the main thing is once you get those boost nodes set, right? I mean, you
like, what do you mean by like level up slot? Because I don't remember like a lot from the B matrix.
Well, you have the gold slots already in the top left, right? So if you check on the right side, you have slot enhancement. If you click that, you can see the level of all of the slots, and then you can level up to level 5 on the slots. You have 21 points left, so you can level up 4 slots all the way to level 5, and then the 5th one just to 1 level. Every single level now, you get 1 matrix point, so every single time you can level up a slot, which just levels up the node that is equipped in that slot by 1 level.
Oh, okay, got it. And you can move the nodes around, right?
Yeah, you can move them around freely. The skill nodes, if they're on cooldown, you can't move them. You have to wait until the cooldown is over, but...
Alright.
Yeah, so when it comes to bossing, there's going to be a lot of other stuff that's going to be more valuable. But especially when the bosses are harder, like Ethereal Form is really nice, basically an iframe, right? The big boss guy, when you trigger that guy, that's an iframe. Overdrive will make all your mana overload will make all your skills cost HP, but it will increase final damage across the board, so that's useful. But that might be something you add on later once you get a little bit better with the mechanics with the boss, so that you don't, ruin your survivability too much.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sakuno's Blessing is definitely going to be really good once it's higher level and once you're more confident with the boss and once you're soloing the harder bosses. But you'll need to build up that IED and build up all of the boost nodes first. But that's going to be the main thing, right? Like find those 4 for boosts, find those 2 for the bossing on the side, level all of those up with the ones you already have, and then make sure that all of the existing skill nodes that you have are all, perfectly leveled up. Make sure that's all squeezed. Then lock them all the ones that you want to keep, and then extract all the leftovers. And then with all of those shards, I probably start working towards maxing out domain. That's just super important because it extends the duration and lowers the cooldown, so it's just the general uptime goes up a lot. And then I probably level up Holy Symbol, even more drop rate for more nodes, more experience, which is really good. And then probably max out your boost nodes. And then from there on, I think it's typically the Yuki, because she also goes up in uptime as you level her. Plus, she makes your your skills cost less mana and stuff. So for both mobbing and bossing, it can be pretty useful. So nice. I would start with those, and then by that time, and once you're doing stuff like Helix and all that, you can see like, okay, I need more damage because I want to burst down the bosses faster. Then you can look at like the final damage stuff, like the Princess Sakuno, and then you'll have more slots as well to start putting those skills in. But what you kind of want to keep in mind is, okay, I don't want to make a skill level 25 if I don't even have a slot to put it in, right? So it's okay to like slowly level them up, and then by the time, I think most of this can already be done with like all of the shards that you're going to get just from extracting like all of the extras and stuff, because there's like so many boost nodes in there. You'll probably get all of your boost nodes like level 22, 23, something like that. Max out domain, close to max out holy symbol, like you make huge progress there. So that's going to be where an insane amount of your value is. Probably, well, maybe not more so than the equip, but I think more so than the equips. That's why I want to go through all the systems first before we get to the equips, because it might feel like there's so much to do for your equips, but if all the other stuff is all falling into place, there'll be way less pressure and way less need for super, super strong equips, and all of it will be helping each other better, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of work for the matrix, but that will definitely pay off. So make sure you definitely sit down and go through that.
Yeah, I'll do a thorough research on it.
Yeah, because that's an actual gold mine that you're sitting on. That's huge value, and you know it looks like a little yellow, little white stone with little blobs, but that's worth more than like the 20 bill in your account probably, in terms of how much stronger it'll make you.
All right.
And then Mezzo and drop gear. So are you in a 5/5 set right now?
I think I have more than I'm supposed to have, actually. Let's see.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying 5/5, right?
Like,
5/4 is where you usually go for, but I see a double line on the
I
pendant.
I have like 100, like 40 or 60% on Mezzo. I think I have more than I should have. I think because it caps, right? I'm guessing it caps like it's somewhere.
Yeah, 100%
like
Mezzo.
80%
Yeah.
or 100%.
So 5 lines of Mezzo obtained will get you capped. Yeah. Oh yeah. So you're over. So some of them. So what I would do is I would look at the Mezzo pieces that you have that don't also have anything that gives you damage, which is hard because you're Kanna, and basically everything gives you a little bit of damage. But look at the ones that give you the least amount of damage on top of the Mezzo and re-roll those for drop. Because what will that do? Give you more nodes, give you more valuable drops, symbols, all of that stuff, and that'll help you in the long term. So. If you look at the pieces, I think it's probably... So you want to keep 5 for Mezzo, right? So probably keep all the ones on the bottom here. And that gives you 1, 2... It gives you 2 lines of Mezzo and 4 lines of drop. So you need at least 3 more lines of Mezzo. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Yeah, so you can definitely get rid of 1. HP, luck, HP, MP... Yeah, probably reroll like the synergy ring or something, right? Try to get drop rate on that one instead.
So you only need 80% on item drop rate then?
Well, yeah, so you have 9 accessories that can give you drop or Mezzo, right?
Yeah.
And if all of them have 1 line and Mezzo caps out at 50, and to cap out always getting a bag is 67%, that's within the 80%. So as long as you have 80 drop, 100 Mezzo, you're optimizing for Mezzo gains. Any drop rate you can get on top of that will make sure that you get more nodes, more droplets and everything. So more is better there, but that can also get pretty expensive because then you have to get double lines on single items, right? So that gets pretty expensive. And if you go for that too early, you're taking the money away from making your damage gear that'll help you boss faster. So that's something that later some people might go into. They'll make like a set that has 10 lines of drop and 5 lines of Mezzo, so they're like optimized for everything. But if you go for very high level areas, that means that all of your potential is utility, and then you lose all the damage in those utility. And if you have these items, they have no Star Force, right? Because they cap out at like 8 or 10. They have, you know, a little bit of set bonus, a little bit of flames, but because no Star Force and they have no potential with intellect, you have all of that damage, especially if you're going to like Cernium or something. All of that damage needs to come from all the other pieces, which is just impossible because we just don't have access to that much damage. So in the beginning you can do that, but typically people don't go for like the whole full everything set because that doesn't scale very well to further you go. What some people will do is in the beginning they go for the Mezzo and a little bit of drop, then they go for full drop because they want to get more drops from monsters. They want to get more Dominator pendants, more Kanna treasure rings, those items, those valuable items that you will need as fodder to transfer hammer into the higher level equips later on. So that's what some people will do. And then depending on where they're going to go, they might mix and match a little bit more. But that's some like 250, 260 plus stuff, right? So that's not something we have to worry about yet. Like for this point of view, like this current situation, the only thing I would do is like redo, I guess it doesn't matter, either the synergy ring or the chaos ring, whichever one you want to do. And try to get drop rate on that instead of what it has now. If it also comes with some intellect, that would be cool. And then your whole drop and Mezzo set is pretty much just done. So there needs to be no more damage coming from that. The main thing will be having all the other things in place so that your accessories can keep doing what they're doing now without having to be upgraded or brought up to like 22 stars or any crazy stuff like that, right? Because most of them can't. So we don't want to put that pressure on them. So one thing is getting your nodes sorted out. You're doing that. Second one is keep doing your dailies. So we talked about Arcana and we talked about going to Isfera, right? Just to make sure that we keep doing those, because that's where all the final damage comes from, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one is make sure that your crit rate stays up, that your link skills and your legion is developing. That's already really good. So the main other thing is going to be planning for the upcoming events and having backups. So you're already working on the weeklies and you're already doing CRA. So you're getting your backups for CRA. That's good. Next event that's possible will be the 1+1, so next week. So you can use that to get to 15 on these pieces because you do have the money, and it seems like a good upgrade for you at this point to make. So I would use that event to go to go to 15 on the CRA pieces, and you won't have to safeguard by then, right? Because you'll have like 3, 4, or 5 backups. That's guaranteed 15. You would have to have monumental, horrible luck to blow up more than 3 to get to 15 one time. And then you just hold that until the 5, 10, 15 in March, and then you get it to 17. Whether you want to safeguard the 16 to 17, I will leave that up to you. Having to redo all the way from 12 back to 17 during a 5, 10, 15 can be very annoying. Yeah, maybe you just safeguard the last star just to, depending on how well it goes. If you blow up 3 now and you actually have no backups anymore by then, or like barely 1 backup, maybe you just safeguard the last star. But like 17 star will be a good spot for you to be at there. In the meantime, if you have occult cubes, I would probably use those on the gear and just get everything to 6% intellect, just like the top, right? It'll just add a nice bit of damage. At this point, it's going to be very difficult to guess if your item is better or worse on Kanna because you have a lot of HP and your flames are not done yet. So HP and MP lines and flames, it's all going to be very difficult to look at on what is actually better. Once you get further into the game, higher star force, higher tiers of potential, and you're focusing more on that intellect, it'll start to look cleaner. So until then, when it comes to the flame specifically, go by the flame score in the calculator. Have you looked at flames before?
I mean, I have an idea on like how they work, but I don't know like what would be better overall. But I know I'm supposed to have like magic attack, int. I don't know about all stats, or because like you said, I have a lot of like HP and MP on my equipment, but it's because I know that they scale off from that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but you kind of scale off of everything, so it's really difficult. And the more HP and MP you have, sometimes it'll mean that your potential, like on your hat with 9% HP, will end up looking better than getting 6% intellect, which it might be strictly right now, but that doesn't mean it will stay. And it won't, is basically what I'm getting at. So it could sometimes be very confusing on like, well, do I really need to re-roll? It seems like everything else I roll is worse. But that's because they're internally connected, right? So when it comes to the flames, I linked you the video on flames. Basically, if you check that, you'll get a better idea on like how do flames work and like why do we use what's called the flame score, so that we can future-proof basically what is going to be good down the road, so we don't have to constantly redo everything, right, for the current balance, but we prepare it for the upcoming balance on where all the stats are going to be coming from. So that's going to be that's going to help you be less because sometimes you want to be careful so that you don't mess it up, but by being too careful you actually mess it up. And it could be one of those situations. So hopefully give you more information so you can be more action oriented rather than be more active rather than being passive, I guess, in that sense.
Right, so you would recommend like all from the CRI gear that I have, just like I have like 6,000 occult cubes, so like just using all of them to get like 6% int on like the potentials.
Yeah, so like the potential in your cape is like really weird, right? Because it's like, oh, no int, but all of the HP and MP probably together does like probably more than 6% int at this point. It's really strange, and I do get that. But as you fix everything on intellect and as you go for more star force, it'll start scaling. And although the flames go towards intellect, that clump together is gonna be better once you get to that point than having too much in HP and MP now. But yeah, I can see how a setup like this ends up happening, because you just you do a cube, you see the range goes up, and it's like, oh, I'm getting more damage, and you are. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that it's gonna stay better, right? And that's kind of the So yeah, I would just roll. You could also, another thing that you could do is, like, well, for the bottom, I would definitely roll something there, right? Because the potential is giving you nothing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would roll HP on all of CRA just like 6%. Your cape you could probably keep, right? Because it's also like a double prime and everything gives something. The
Well,
glove and the
I was gonna ask you like on the cape, the gloves, and the shoes. I think I have enough like Absol and like
yeah.
stigma coins to get like Absolab. So I don't know if it would be better like just to get like those and then like using that instead of the cubes for like the equipment that I have right now.
Yeah, so you'll want to make sure that you use transfer hammer so that you get to. Are you familiar with transfer hammering and how to use that?
Uh, not really. I mean, I know that like once you like I have the fan that I boomed, but I wouldn't know like how to like like pass that to another fan per se.
Yeah. So yeah, that's specifically trace transferring, and then transfer hammering is another thing. It's like kind of within the same UI, but basically transfer hammer is a system that we use a lot to transfer value from one item to the next one, the higher level item, so that not all of our value is lost because we don't have trade, right? So I sent you the video on that. That's going to be important for you to look at also, because what you might be able to do before next week is you just get some like backup pencilier gloves and boots, and then you can just Star Force these without having to safeguard. And then by the time the 5, 10, 15 comes around, you want to get one piece of level 150 gear as well. That will drop from Madman Ramaru, or in the case of gloves, you can buy it in the black market for Magnus. The shoe you can buy in the Root Abyss shop, and the cape you can get as a drop also from Chaos Sakum, right? The Enraged Sakum cape, you may have seen that one. Just have one of those. And if you get the level 140 pieces, right now like this shoe and this glove, not this cape, right? You'll have to get a penciler cape or just get the 150 cape if you have enough of those. If you next weekend, you can also just without safeguarding, Star Force those up to 15. Keep them at 15, and then on the day of the 5, 10, 15 in March, you get them from 15 to 16 guaranteed. Then transfer it through transfer hammer, and you can see in the video how that works. Transfer it to the level 150 piece, and then get the level 150 piece again from 15 to 16 guaranteed. Then transfer that into your Abzo, and then get the Abzo from 15 to 16 again guaranteed, and then safeguard the last star. That way you can make sure that the epic potential and all of the stars all the way up until 15 all get transferred over, and you won't have to worry about the low star forcing on Abzo and having to safeguard and spend a lot of money on that. And that'll save you a lot of money into going for 17 star Abzo. So you're in a good position now where you can use the 1+1 Star Force event to prep for 15. And then you have a little bit more time to make sure that you have all of the steps in between, all of the equips, and have enough money, and work on buying the Abzo. And then by the 5, 10, 15, you'll be able to make the full switch into the Abzo pieces, immediately getting the 17. And then all you really have to worry about after that is just the flames and the potential. But the potential will already start from epic, and the flames, since they're Abzo pieces, will be flame advantage, and that's also explained in the flame video. So you'll be able to get really good value out of the flames once you get those pieces.
I haven't even thought of that. That's smart.
Yeah, so that way you save a lot of money in the progress. And for the weapon, when you're talking about the trace, you would need to get the pieces. I think it's Piece of Destruction, right? The one with the dragon from Vellum in your inventory. Where are they? Bottom right. Yeah, you have 16, so you have enough right now. If you double click that and you get a fan, and you go into the inventory to transfer inventory. And then you basically you will transfer the trace into the fan. It has to be the exact same type item, so it has to be a Fafnir Indigo Flash. And if you do that, all of the stats on the current one will all get transferred into the new one, and it'll come out as a 12-star with the exact same copied stats as the trace. So that's how you can reactivate that.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
And then usually what I start with, but like the WSE, I guess, the main thing is going to be here that you're going for 2 real Absolab weapons, right? One will probably be easy to get. Second one might be a little bit harder to get because they're pretty expensive from the shop. But when it comes to, so yeah, you have a secondary fan and a main fan, right? I guess the one that you blew up was the secondary, I think.
No, the one that I blew up was the one that I used to have on my Kanna. But since I
Oh yeah,
blew it
another
up and I
Haku.
didn't have like any backups, I used like this event with the Lara so I could get the the Absolab as a main weapon, and the one that I used to have,
Yeah,
I think I gave the other one to
Haku. To
to
Haku, yeah.
Haku.
So the one that you
S-
give to Haku, the most important thing there is to have Star Force and to have a flame with magic attack, and for the potential to have percentage magic attack. That's the main things that you want to look for in a Haku fan. And then for your
because the potential doesn't really matter, right, on the Haku fan.
well, magic attack does, and intellect also works, but magic attack scales way better, right? But IED and damage and boss damage, all of that doesn't work on a Haku fan, yeah. So you're purely just pumping magic attack. Pumping a magic attack through the Star Force, pumping magic attack through the Flame, and pumping magic attack through the potential on the Haku fan. So you can be in a good position, because if you have two fans, and one hits everything you want from a Haku fan, and the other one doesn't, you can just switch out their functions. And the only thing you have to look out for is the set bonus, right? Because the set bonus only works with your Kanna fan, not with your Haku fan.
Yeah.
So the Absolab Summoner right now, it has really good base magic attack, right? So that's carrying you right now. And it's got the boss damage. But if you were to get potential with percentage magic attack, it would increase your damage by so much. Right? Especially when you're mobbing, because the boss damage is nothing when you're mobbing. 9% damage does something, but isn't great, and the 10% critical rate can be compensated by other stuff. So it's really just the base stats of the Absolab Summoner that is really nice, but the potential is actually, when you're mobbing, is garbage, and when you're bossing, it's almost just like one good line, because when you get the Legendary, you can get 40% boss damage, which is almost that. So there's huge potential there to be gained, but I think the priority would have to be your emblem, getting that to Legendary, probably in the pretty short term, and try to see if you get a line of IED and a line of magic attack, at least. Those two things. That would be huge benefit to your damage output to bossing, and it would also help you in mobbing. Not that you need it now, but it'll help you future-proof a little bit so that there's not too much pressure on the other pieces like we talked about. Yeah, I'm rushing a little bit now because we're already a little bit over time. So, and I've got bosses in a little bit. So, I want to make sure that you get all the information in there. But I'm sending you the videos to, for like the breakdown of the ways that the system will work. The transfer hammer video is a little bit more focused also towards the long-term Absolab transferring into like 21 star and stuff. We don't do that anymore. So you're basically using it for the method that I talked about, right, with the 15 to 16 transferring. That'll save you a lot of trouble. But save the pieces in between, right? So you can transfer the stuff over, you can maintain your value. And when you're, just in general, when you're star forcing, try to assess the risk properly so it doesn't happen again to your fan what happened, right? Now you have backup, so it's okay. But for some other stuff, if you blow up an Absolab and you have to start, well, you have done the weeklies, I see, but if you have to start killing the bosses again, combine the weeklies, you can run out of those. Then another character that you want Abso on doesn't get Abso because you made a mistake on the other character. So try to make sure that you're looking at, like, what is the risk, and am I really willing to take this risk? If you're not, then just don't risk it. Maybe even wait for another event until you have more money or until you have more backups, because Star Force events, they come back pretty regularly, so you can count on those. And then in between, you work on potential. And then when there's nothing or everything becomes super expensive, then you can start working on flames, basically.
All right. So they don't have events for flames, right? That's something you do like on the side, like every now and then.
Yeah, usually, when you're bossing, you get some flames. Sometimes when you're training, you get some flames. Event stores, you can get some flames. And then, you just work on the flame advantage items first, the highest level items first, and then you move your way down. The only really important items that you really want to get good flames on is your weapon, and then any item that you're going to be transposing later. But until you're like full superior Gollux and moving into full Sweetwater pieces from Commercy, that's basically when you're like full 17 star and everything is legendary 2-line. Until then, you don't really have to worry about that. But when you get a Papulatus Mark or a Dominator and you want to transpose those over, and transposing is also explained in the Transfer Hammer video, by the way. So if you watch through that whole one, it'll explain that as well.
All right. Yeah, I think I have to look into the Commercy because I don't think I've done like any of it, but I'll probably look into it later. And just like a couple more questions for like the heart. Because I don't have a heart or an Android. Do you think like getting those from like event shops will like benefit me?
Oh,
like,
yeah, they would. That? Yeah, if you had the session yesterday, or what day is it today? 2 days ago. Oh yeah, yesterday was the last day to buy the fairy heart from the live studio. You didn't get that one?
Oh, no, I don't think I did.
Unfortunate. Yeah. So Medium Heart is like, you know, better than nothing, but barely. The Fairy Heart is definitely considerably better because of the higher tier, so the potential lines on it are way better. I don't think you're starving for any damage right now. There is just like the small chance that it takes a long time before it comes back, or maybe never. So that's kind of like looming over your head, that once you get to the point where, oh, every upgrade now is like 40 bill, and if I had a heart, I could just dump like 3 bill into it and get way more value out of it, then it's going to feel really bad. But, you know, let's hope that, you know, before all of that gets around, there's going to be some other way of getting a heart, and then you don't have to worry about it. But, yeah, Legion Heart, I wouldn't invest into that too much, because even on, if you get it to Legendary, like the potential tiers are like 633, so it's like 12% stat. But at a pretty high cost, you can still work on a lot of other things before then to get way more value. So I wouldn't worry about heart. Just keep an eye out for event notes, patch notes. I try to always go over patch notes for events that are coming out, and then make sure that if there's a Fairy Heart or One Droid event, it used to be called Mechanical Hearts event. If that ever comes back, then make sure you jump on that to get a high level, high tier heart and Android.
All right.
All right. Work on the Monster Barker badge if you haven't been doing that. Not the badge, sorry, the medal. The Monster Barker medal, yeah.
Yeah, I just realized I've been doing like Monster Park like crazy, but I hadn't accepted the stupid quest, so like I've been doing them for nothing until I accepted it, because I wanted to see like how many more I needed, but I couldn't find anything, and then I accepted the quest, and like it said zero
out of everything.
Zero. I was like, God damn it. Yeah, it's a mistake.
Go again. Yeah. Well, you're working, because that's also some ID, right? And as a Kanna, you want to get all of those little sources.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, a lot of videos for you, and a lot of information for one day, and a lot of homework, but an insane amount of progress that can be made. I think if you take like the next 2-3 days to like buckle down on all the things we talked about, you know, reroll that emblem, come up with that plan for next weekend for the star forcing, and figure out the matrix, you'll already see a huge difference there. And then the star forcing event, and then specifically the star forcing event further, and once all of the potentialing is a little bit smoothed out, you'll start seeing crazy differences in the bossing performance specifically, especially if you can get that line of IED on your emblem and the IED familiars. You will see your damage increase on bosses a lot, and you'll see the jump towards Lotus and Damien get really, really close very quickly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
All right.
I for this year, I haven't struggled, I think, that much, because I have the potions that give, you know, like the IED and damage. I use that, and those help a lot. But yeah. Yeah, just having those base amounts you'll notice it'll make a huge difference, especially once your skill nodes start leveling up a little bit more as well. If all the boost nodes are max and the skill nodes can start getting some levels, it'll be good. It'll be good shit. All right, man. Sounds good. I think I'm pretty much good. I'll look over the video. You're gonna upload the video, right, to YouTube? So
yeah, I'll upload the video. If you have any follow-up questions, you know, I'll be live and streaming, so you can ask in the chat. If it's more complicated, you can ask me in Discord. But yeah, I believe in you. Okay.
Right.
It's a lot of work, but yeah, it's got to be good. It's good progress.
All right. Yeah, I'll look into it then. I won't hold you up anymore, so you can go to.
Yeah. Go do those bosses. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, good luck, and I'll see you around.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye. Right. Cool. Yeah, a lot of progress to make. Got to do that Spirit Savior, and got to get all this stuff in place. I drew the winners for the January session, so check your YouTube DMs. Hit me up on Discord for the 2 people. I wrote you down, so don't all hit me up, okay? I know who you guys are. But yes, that's that. Cool. Great outro. Well done. No. Hopefully that was educational for you. Hope you guys learned some things about the priorities of upgrading and what to look at, and how you can go from an account that seems maybe like a total mess and clean that up. And yeah, how you can utilize the value that's already there and put it to work for you, right? Because if you have all of that work put in, you want to optimize a little bit within that so that you can get the work out of it, of all the work that was put in. So do it. or don't. You know, I'm not your dad. Do whatever you want. But here are some tools that you can use. More tools in my Twitch chat. I stream every day. You can use the commands with all of the information that we went over here. Access to all the videos, access to all the detailed info. And if you want to win one of these sessions, make sure you leave a comment that you would like to win. I draw two winners who get a free session. That's better. Every month. So if you want that to be you. Last month's winners got really lucky. The videos that got chosen, they were the only two that commented, so they were 100% chance to win. So that's pretty good. If you want one of these sessions with me, there's a price list and a list of all of the things that are needed in the description of the video. And other than that, I will see you live on stream or in the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Bye, YouTube.